What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Well, it's been about 7 to 10 days since we went over Solana here on the channel, giving you guys a full breakdown and update of what's going on from a news, fundamental, and technical perspective. And I want to make sure, again, that you are as fully caught up as possible. So today we're going to be doing just that. We're going to be going over some good news, some things that are happening behind the scenes with volume and aggregator volume and much more, and then its price itself. And so, of course, with that in mind, let's not waste any more time and let's catch up on Solana. Now, guys, don't forget, if you do want to trade some Solana yourself on up to 50x leverage without needing to KYC, meaning you don't have to give them your personal information, you can use the Margex link down in the description below. And when you do sign up with my link down below, you're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses. So that's obviously something you don't want to miss out on. Now, the reason why I do all my Solana trading on Margex is because I can trade Solana with several different forms of collateral, which makes my life way easier. So make sure that you, of course, do go check that out down below. Now, starting today's video off, we're going to be going with the news. Then we'll go over some things happening from a fundamental perspective. Then we'll go over its price. Now, we did get some pretty interesting news a couple days ago from Standard Chartered, which is a massive company in the banking sector, in which they came out and said that they think that Solana could surge up to 400% if Donald Trump wins the 2024 US election. They said they do believe that they are expecting Solana to jump by 400, Ethereum decline by 300, and Bitcoin to rise by 200, which of course could be a $700 Solana, 9.6k ETH, and over $185,000 Bitcoin. They said he pointed out that Solana's fast transaction speed and capacity for decentralized applications makes it a strong candidate in a pro-crypto climate. Kendrick also mentioned that a Solana ETF would be much more likely under Trump than Kamala Harris in general, and so because of these reasons, they do believe that if Trump does go on to win, that things could get absolutely nuts for Solana, even better than they are now. Now, I do agree and I share the same opinion. I'm not particularly sure about a $700 Solana. I've been pretty set with my idea that, 500, 600 is more likely as a top, but of course you never really know. But what I will actually go ahead and say is I don't want to feed into the narrative that if Kamala wins, it's bad for crypto, because I actually don't believe that it is. I think that the world of crypto is either going to stay where it's at or get better. I think that's the outcome of this election. If we get Kamala Harris as the president, I think that we're probably just going to see crypto stay where it's at. Their party, has recognized that crypto is a big world, right? There's a lot of people within the world of crypto, and they kind of want to appeal to the world of crypto. And the Republican Party, their party, they recognize that way earlier on, and they've already gotten much further ahead to make things happen for crypto. And so in my brain, we're either going to see the Republican Party win, and if they do, of course, we're going to see, I'd say, the world of crypto really do really well, realistically. And if Kamala wins, well, at the end of the day, I think it stays where we are right now or just gets a little bit better as they do continue to try to appeal to the world of cryptocurrency. So I don't particularly think that it's going to be bad. And so, although I do agree with this news, I don't want to feed into the narrative that if Kamala does win, that things are going to absolutely just die, right? Now, moving into the next piece of news here, we got the ETC group who came out recently and says that they advise holding Ethereum, Solana, and Aptos through market shifts. Now, we have been recently seeing this, and I'm not going to dive super deep into the news. That piece of news, you can go see that yourself, but it's more of the fact that we're starting to see Solana's name growing in credibility and reputation. Whenever you're seeing a lot of these massive investment funds, banks, etc., supporting Solana, putting its name up there on the titles with Ethereum and with some of these other giants, it's important because what I told you all going into this bull run when we were in the last bear market was, listen, Solana's whole goal this bull market is to grow credibility. Just like ETH gained credibility in the last bull market, that's Solana's goal this bull market. And by these things happening, and if a Solana ETF does happen, or if any of those things happen, it puts us in a spot in which we're finally seeing that actually coming true. And Solana gaining credibility is only going to be, a positive thing because it'll allow people to recognize the true benefits of Solana compared to something like ETH. And although I'm not an advocate for Solana killing ETH or whatever it may be, it is important for people to see how much better Solana's blockchain can be than Ethereum, because then they'll truly know how to equate its value. And that's why I think that's so important. So from a news perspective, although things have been rather dry and there's not really much else news for Solana, I think that these two big pieces of news do help in terms of credibility, and I do think they're good for overall shift in sentiment. Now, looking at the back end, okay, now we talked about the front end, let's talk about the back end. What we can see is that things have been looking pretty damn good for Solana. Now, not only just good, Solana just set a new record for the year. What we can see here is if we're looking at TVL, which is total value locked, Solana just broke its high for the year, just cleared its yearly high, its 2024 high, which is absolutely beautiful. Now, if you don't know what TVL is, TVL stands for total value locked, and people can commonly equate this to just being the overall size of the ecosystem itself. Typically speaking, the higher your TVL, the bigger your ecosystem, because there's more assets staked and there are more, just general projects usually that are feeding the amount of assets that are locked or staked on your ecosystem. Now, sure, there are exceptions where, one company is on your ecosystem or two companies are in your ecosystem and they have all of the TVL, but that's not usually the case. Typically speaking, it's more spread out amongst several different companies, and the more in which you see the TVL growing, it usually just means more assets are staked and locked on several different companies as they do, of course, begin to flourish. So it's always a good thing to see. Now, previously in the last bull market, we did see Solana's TVL at the top get all the way right around $9.9 to $10 billion. Now we're currently sat at $5.82 billion, again, which is a new yearly record. And it has been consistently increasing throughout the year. And what this does mean is that even though Solana's price itself has not been doing the best, if we're being honest here, and I can actually just show you this, right? Although Sol's price itself has been downwards trending or consolidating, we have been seeing overall TVL increasing. And that's beautiful because it goes to show that there has become some separation, that the ecosystem is not relying on Solana's price. And that is the only way truly for this ecosystem to thrive, because Solana is too volatile. And so because of that, I love seeing this. This is the biggest piece of the news today. And the fact that we have seen this just goes to show how well Solana's ecosystem can thrive even in periods in which its price isn't doing well. Now, it even goes further than that. Because if we do go over to sentiment to get an idea of what some of our social metrics and volumes are, we're not really seeing Solana trending, right? You look at what's happening since June, realistically, from a social dominance perspective, that's been downtrending. You look at what's going on, let's see if I can move that. There we go. You look at something like social volume. This has been flat. It's not really picking up. It's not really doing anything right now. And so from a social perspective, we haven't really been seeing Solana catch a lot of momentum. It's just truly and purely that people are believing more and more in the ecosystem. Therefore, they're locking more assets in the Solana ecosystem, allowing this TVL to grow. Because as I mentioned before, social metrics not really growing that much. Core developers is actually decreasing right now. You look at something like volume. Volume isn't at a yearly high right now. You look at revenue. Revenue is also not at a yearly high right now. None of these metrics are. Derivatives volume, this is flat. Aggregators volume, this is flat. All of these things are flat, and this one's kind of popping up a little bit. And so you can see that it's not like Solana's ecosystem is thriving and they're getting all these transactions and blowing up on social media. That's not what's happening right now. People who are in the ecosystem are just trusting the ecosystem more. And when you get news like this, and when you get news like this, and you start to see what's happening in the front end, you start to understand why what's happening in the back end is so important. And so because of that, I love the fact that Solana's TVL is continuing to grow. And it's something that I just don't think people pay enough attention to. It's easy to just look at volume. And if you were looking at volume, you'd realistically be like, well, Solana's ecosystem's doing okay right now, but it's not doing that great. But when you can compare it with the TVL, you can really see the true picture, and that is, holy shit, Solana's ecosystem is hitting a TVL, a yearly high right now, and its volume is just starting to pick up. How much higher can this go? That's the bigger picture. And so because of this, from a fundamental perspective, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Solana's ecosystem, which of course intrinsically and immediately affects Solana's price itself. Now, going into Solana's price, let's get into it, okay? So what's going on with Solana's price right now is actually very good, in my opinion. What you all know, and something that I've talked about here on the channel quite a couple times, I would say, is that we have been tracking this range that Solana's been in. Now, let's just ignore the mess. Let's ignore the fuss. Let me just get rid of some of this, and I'll put it back up here in a second. Because I don't want to get too deep into like the actual exacts on the 4-hour, 1-hour time frame. Feel free to check out my main channel. I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of technical analysis every day. Feel free to go check that out. I don't want to do that here on this channel. But what we can see here is that we have been talking about this range since March. I said, listen, at some point, I believe Solana's price is going to break this green box. This green box represents the top of the range. This red box represents a back testing of support. I told you all that Solana's price broke above the 618 to 786 zone and is trying to build a foundation on top of it. If it's capable of doing that, historically speaking, it should be able to, over time, break itself back up towards a 1.272 extension, which could be upwards of $680, which does align with the news we got, actually not that long ago, but I'm aiming for more $400 $450 to $500. And so because of that, what I told you all was that we need to be watching very closely all of these developments that happen in there, because eventually if Solana's price does break above this, I think it's going to open up a beautiful door to the upside. And without getting too technical and getting too deep into it, what I can say and will say is Solana's doing a fantastic job. Over the last couple months, we have consistently been buying anytime Solana was near this red box, and it's been holding up very well. And as of the most recent, what we can see is that it seems as if Solana might be teetering on the edge of creating one of the most bullish patterns that there is, which is an inverse head and shoulders. Now, it's not at the very bottom of a move, right? It would be better if it was down here, so it's not at the best point at which it can be, but it's in a good point. It's a mid-level inverse head and shoulders, and I'm okay with that. And so because of that, what I've been watching very recently is when will Solana break $162? Because if Solana is capable of breaking 162 at any given point within the next, call it, couple weeks, maybe even the next month and a half or so, we're going to validate this. Even if it looks like this, it doesn't matter. As long as it breaks 162 without losing $133, we're going to have a fully validated inverse head and shoulders with a beautiful breakout target to the upside. If we actually go in, I can show you what that breakout target will be by taking the distance from this, which is called the neckline, and you pull that line all the way down to the bottom of your head. You're then going to apply that distance to the top of your head or your neckline, and this is your breakout target. Currently speaking, the breakout target for Solana, if we do validate this inverse head and shoulders, is sitting around $225. And so now you can see why it's so important that this does play out, if it does play out, because not only does it give us a beautiful move to the upside, but it also gets us in a spot in which we could finally break this green box and open up that door for Solana to continue trying to make these new all-time high moves. And so because of that, all I've been doing recently with Solana was just waiting. I'm sitting back quite simply and waiting to see if we're going to be able to break 162 and validate this or not, because if we do or don't is going to dictate and justify the next 3 or 4 months worth of moves, in my opinion. So overall, from a technical perspective, although it is a waiting game, I think that Solana's looking good. I love the early implications of bullish structure in which it's creating right now, and I think that we are in a great path to them. So although it doesn't seem like it and the excitement's not back and no one's really talking about Solana, a lot of stuff is happening from a news, fundamental, and technical perspective that I'm extremely bullish about. And so because of that, I wanted to share that with you all today. Don't forget, if you do want to trade some Solana yourself, you can use that Margex link down below. Get up to $10,000 in rewards when you do sign up with just my Margex link down there. So feel free to check it out, and I can't wait to see you all in the next catch up. Peace out, everybody. See ya.